I'm Conrad Huffstutler with Lancair Legacy named Breathless here at the 2023 Reno Air Races.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
I've been flying my whole life. I grew up in a family of aviators, so really been interested in aviation, been coming to Reno to the air races since I was a little kid. So it's always been a dream to be out here, and I'm so happy to be able to be a part of it, and especially a part of it for the last year here in Reno. The airplane itself is, again, a Lancair Legacy. It's an all-composite airplane. It's one of the fastest single-engine experimentals there is. Our airplane is named Breathless, and Breathless has to do with the normally aspirated nature of the engine. The engine is actually gasping for air. We're racing at 5,000, 6,000 foot density altitudes, so when the piston moves down and pulls air in the front of the engine, it has to pull the air, whereas a turbocharged or supercharged airplane, air is actually forced in. So the name Breathless means it's just striving for air up here, and we're doing all that we can without the horsepower that everybody else is working with. This engine puts out maybe 270 horsepower up here at altitude, so we're doing as much as we can with very little horsepower. Breathless was the name given to the airplane by the previous owner, Lee Beal. And Lee Beal was one of the founders of the sports class air racing. Lee was tragically killed out here at the races in a highly modified new airplane. And he had raced Breathless for many years before that, and had really tweaked and tuned it and brought it to perfection. So we wanted to continue with that name, and I personally won't put a turbocharger or anything on it because I think it goes against the name and what Lee was trying to do with the airplane. So we're really happy with the airplane. We're having a lot of fun with it and doing really well out here. Racing has always been a frontier for new thought and new innovations. So when building airplanes, you can come out here and get a lot of good ideas, see how people are doing things that might be different from you. But that's what really drove the passion behind the maintenance side. Our main strength with this airplane is aerodynamic. One of the biggest differences with this Lancair Legacy over others is its belly. We call this the beluga mod. It's a belly mod that increases the size of the belly. There's actually an aerodynamic problem with the stock airplane where the fuselage collapses too quickly and you create an air bubble that causes drag. So it accounts for about 15 knots of increased speed over the stock airplane. The cowling and spinner is all different. It's all very slick and clean. There's no external fasteners. The landing gear has been sealed up very tight. So when it's in the wells, there's a very small seam, and it's all got felt to seal any air. We don't want any air going in or out of the airplane. We want it going around the airplane. I've got a couple of guys out here with me that are helping crew the airplane and keeping it clean, keeping it fueled, keeping it ready, and out there on the line when we need it. There's a lot of guys at home that did wiring. We just put a new instrument panel in it with a Garmin instrument panel, and that really made things a lot more reliable on our indications. And a lot of times you can miss a race by a simple comm issue. If your helmet doesn't connect and you can't talk to everybody, then you can't race. So what we didn't want to happen was a little silly issue keep us out of the races. I think the most challenging part is just keeping the airplane running. Throughout the week, it's a lot of flying, a lot of lot of abuse to that engine. Luckily, we don't have too much going on. There's guys out here that have nitrous, and there's guys that have superchargers and twin turbochargers. Some guys are pushing upwards of 90 to 100 inches of manifold pressure. So there's numbers out here that we don't ever see in the general aviation area, but there's some really interesting things happening out here, and it's neat to see that these airplanes can continue to do that for a week full of racing.
See the Lancair written on the bottom, race number 5, Conrad Huffstutler out of Uvalde, Texas. Huffstutler looks like he's got it dialed in just right. Lancair Legacy out in front right there on your screen. Aircraft Conrad calls Breathless, leading the race here. Here comes our leader, following around the final pylon number 9, headed for the home pylon. We have the checkered flag here for him, unofficially, Conrad Huffstutler.
Earlier this week, we were playing in the silver class, which is a lot of fast airplanes, but we were able to take first place for 2 days in a row in the silver. So today, moving up into the gold class is faster than the fastest silver, but now we're back in the pack with all the fast guys. I think we did great this year and had a lot of fun, and now it's just time to put down the fastest speed we can.
What racers you have a race?
Vicky in race 15 was back there with me. She was in 8th place. She typically is a little bit faster than me because she runs a lot of nitrous. She did pass me on the first couple laps. Kept flying as fast as I could and as tight as I could to make it back up to her and try to get a pass. Caught back up to her, and I got a little bit of altitude on her on the backside, the Valley of Speed. When we pushed down, all the aerodynamic qualities of the airplane come into play, and it allows me to jump ahead. So I was able to pass her on the last lap and get 7th place in the gold. So it doesn't sound too great, but we had a great competition back there and had a lot of fun. It's a very dynamic experience. I've done a lot of formation flying and warbird flying, all sorts of stuff, but this kind of combines everything all into one experience. So it really is just very tight, very odd formation flying. And it's a great group of guys out here. Everybody's very professional. They're very good at what they do. So it gives me a lot of confidence flying out there with those guys on my wing. One of our main efforts was to be very prepared. We didn't want to come out here with a bunch of tools and spare parts and be working on the airplane all week, so we did a lot of work at home to prepare for that. This engine I personally rebuilt about 8 months ago, and just made sure everything's perfect so that we can come out here and not have to dress in dirty pants and be covered in oil all the time. I think the most enjoyable is just being here in the pits and talking to people. And again, I really like the fact that we come prepared and we're not having to work on the airplane all the time. We're able to do interviews and talk to the crowd and sign autographs and be involved in the whole thing and not having to stay up till midnight changing cylinders and working on the airplane. So there is a lot of fun in that as well. I like working on airplanes, so that's neat, but I can do that at home. Reno is a special place, and it's kind of the gathering of a lot of family. They call it the September family, and it's just a lot of good people, a lot of good friends. And I think that's what I'll miss most, is just getting together with all these people. And the competitive nature is fun. It's a very professional, competitive nature. We're not out there to win at all costs and hurt each other. So I do like that. It's a very good group. So I think the camaraderie is probably what you miss the most. And Reno's been around for a long time, so it's sad to see it go.